Hi, I'm Bill Lancaster, and I'm going to be your host for this video on 4 rules of gun safety. So I'm going to hold those rules up for you, and you should memorize them. In South Carolina, we had to memorize these 4 rules in order to get a concealed weapons permit, and you had to tell them back to the instructor. We had an 8-hour course back in those days. It's been 10 or 12 years ago since I got my permit, and it's the best thing we ever had going, but our wisdom of our legislatures did away with it by having an open carry. So anyway, here's the 4 rules of gun safety. I'm going to hold them up for you to try to read, and I'm going to read them off for you. The 4 rules, I'll just read them off for you, are: treat every gun as loaded. 2, never point a gun at something you don't intend to shoot. 3, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to, until your gun is pointed at the target. And 4, be careful about what is behind your target, because that's just as much in play as what's in your target. And then I added a 5th one, which is really the bottom thing, which is store your guns safely. We have too many children getting killed with guns. So, treat every gun as loaded. Somebody, I have a firearm here. Somebody removes the magazine. Hands you a gun. Is it loaded, unloaded, or you don't know? You have to know the right answer to that question because lives depend on it. Loaded, unloaded, or you just don't know. So think about that. I want you to come up with the right answer. So the correct answer is you don't know until you rack it. I'm going to charge it. You see that there's a round in there. A live round was in the chamber. Now, is it loaded, unloaded, or you don't know? Well, you can be pretty darn sure this gun is unloaded, and I'm so sure that I'm going to pull the trigger. Of course, it's on safety. So there you go. So this gun was unloaded only after you have looked in the chamber and made sure there was no live round there. This can be true of a handgun, a gun like this, any kind of semi-automatic. You've got to make sure there's no live round in the chamber. Second rule, never point a gun at something you don't intend to shoot. Now, you see, you can always spot a beginner because they'll do this kind of thing. They're not at all conscious of where their muzzle is pointing. So you've got to be very conscious to never let that muzzle be pointed at anything that you don't intend to shoot. I've seen videos of holsters underneath the arm, and they will actually draw the weapon, drop the weapon down below their hand, and come around so that the muzzle never crosses their arm. That's a little extreme, but you get the idea. Don't point the gun at anything you don't intend to shoot. Never, ever point the gun. So that goes in the house especially, but anywhere you are. Just never point the gun at anything you don't intend to shoot. Third is keep your finger off the trigger until your gun is pointed at the target. Now, I thought that was going to be hard for me to do, but it's not. It's really not. You just keep your finger pointed like parallel to the trigger, and when you're ready to fire, you can just let it drop back. But keep that finger off the trigger. You don't want to pick a gun up by the trigger, ever. You don't want to just keep your finger off the trigger, and you'll avoid a lot of disasters. And then be careful what's behind your target. Things behind your target can be houses, there can be groups of people. You don't know what's going to be back there. You've got to be careful about where you shoot and make sure that your shot goes into a berm or into a hillside or a tree, something that will stop the round and not let it go forward. And then I've added a fifth rule rather, store your gun safely. We have so many stories of kids here in South Carolina who are killed because they come across a gun, and the way a child checks to see if a gun is loaded is they pull the trigger. Well, if you pull the trigger and there's a round in the chamber, that gun's going to go off, and it may kill a cousin, a brother, a sister, who knows. You have to be very careful about the way you store your firearms, and if you have kids in the house, be sure to keep those guns locked up. So those are the 4 rules of gun safety, and I hope you will remember those and memorize them and be able to tell them back to somebody who may ask you what they are, an instructor or somebody. So those are the 4 rules. That's all I have to say today, so bye.